Among the vast and iconic library of PlayStation 1 titles, a few have slipped under the radar. Le Concert is one such game, a hidden gem that uniquely blends gameplay, music, and storytelling, the trifecta of a great game. It was published by Warashi Inc, an obscure company that, at the time, was primarily known for developing not-safe-for-work mahjong games and mobile wallpapers. They also had the ability to create the occasional masterpiece. Le Concert did not receive the same level of attention as more renowned PlayStation classics like Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid, hell, even Ape Escape.
This is the Super Hoop. It protects you and makes you run faster.
However, Le Concert did offer an intriguing, dare I say experimental, approach to gaming during PlayStation 1's golden age. Ingeniously following the same strategy as the Pokémon franchise, Le Concert was released in two separate versions, Le Concert PP, Le Concert FF. PP stands for pianissimo, meaning very soft or quiet, while FF stands for fortissimo, meaning very loud. So to break it down, the game title itself is French, Le Concert meaning the concert. The letters after it is Italian, PP or FF. The protagonist is German, and the developers are Japanese. And let me tell you something, personally, I was drawn to these titles the instant I saw it in my YouTube search results after mistyping something. The moment I saw pre-assassinated Abraham Lincoln enjoying a symphony and an orchestra of Kairosoft tier sprite work, I was hooked the minute I saw that, and I had to make a video. So today we're gonna cover the gameplay, the immersive soundtracks, intrigue, mystery, murder, betrayal, everything revolving around the lasting, boundless legacy of the Le Concert series. All joking and AI-generated scripts aside, this is probably the most obscure game I've played. I couldn't find a single review on either of the games, which is confusing because this isn't vaporware. These titles exist and are playable. And by no means are they rare. You can buy them for $10 on eBay, but nobody's talking about them. It's one of the first rhythm games, so historically, you would think there is something out there. So before we get into the game, into the gameplay and story, let's just start on why this game was created in the first place. The mid-90s marked a significant turning point in gaming. PlayStation 1 was released in 1994. It ushered in a new era of 3D graphics, and with it, more immersive gameplay. The console quickly became home to, unbeknownst to us at the time, some of the most beloved franchises in history. Gran Turismo, Tekken, Quest 64, Dino Crisis, many more. I can go on for days. But with all the focus on these major franchises, there was still room for experimentation. By the time Le Concert was released, it was 1999. 3D gaming was old news. Boring. Players wanted something new. They wanted 4D. They were expecting more complex worlds and stories, which led to a growing interest in niche genres that pushed the boundaries. Parappa. These games carried unconventional mechanics and expression. Gamers didn't want to play platforming games anymore. They wanted weird shit. With that being said, Le Concert also brought its experimental, boundary-pushing creativity for the PlayStation 1. If you haven't figured it out by now, Le Concert is a rhythm-based game where you play as a conductor. But sadly, no peripheral was included with the game, so there's no conductor's baton. It plays like any other rhythm game where you see a note, you hit the corresponding button, nothing new there. And at times it did feel very monotonous, like an eye exam where you're just clicking on something showing up in your peripheral vision. The game is very generous with a timing window, and you can widen it by lowering the difficulty. It was a bit hard in later levels. Following the Italian terminology, a perfect hit is called perfetto, and the game adheres to this convention, all the way down to in successo. Now, what makes Le Concert unique is that as a conductor, you must cue or signal specific musician sections to play. And I can't stress enough how difficult it was to figure this out. The game's UI is extremely bare bones. There's no score or hit indicator. What I'm trying to say is that I couldn't tell if I was doing poorly or well or what the hell was going on. Actually, no, let me take that, I'm gonna take that back. You'll know when you're doing poorly. Because if you perform badly, the music starts to sound like a haunted house. And if you perform even worse, it starts to resemble the sound of a dying Homer Simpson bottle opener. Getting back to the conducting mechanic, this is represented by the blue bar and you use the D-pad. And this is the mechanic that can really ruin your runs. It can feel very, very challenging, kind of like you're spinning plates doing this plus hitting the notes. It gets extremely difficult in the last levels and hard difficulties. And if you're crazy enough, there's a musician mode, the counterpart to the gamer's mode, where the notes aren't the PlayStation buttons, but dynamic markings like mezzo forte. There is something akin to Guitar Hero's star power. If you select the fiddler at the correct time, you'll receive bonuses, and it'll give you a higher score in the end. At the end of each level, you're rated A through F. There is no S ranking. I tried my hardest, I can never get an S ranking. And believe it or not, performance affects the story, which I'll get into. Le Concert is a Japan-only release, and due to its extreme obscurity, there are no fan translations available. So I used an AI auto-translator to attempt to follow along. Please forgive me, it's very unclear what even happened in this story, so I'm just going to try my best to summarize. Starting with Le Concert PP. Surprisingly enough, this version of the game featured a female protagonist. Renee is a self-taught conductor who must leave her hometown and abandon her dying mother. The game literally starts off with her crying, saying, I don't want to go, I want to stay here. But her mother urges her to show the world what she's got. She then visits a village where the village chief and a man named Anton are talking. Anton doesn't want to play music anymore. I believe he plays the clarinet, I'm not sure. The village chief explains that their conductor has a punctured lung and can't conduct anymore. Boy, what a coincidence. Renee's a conductor. She'll fit right in. After joining and doing a session, Anton is thoroughly impressed and decides that Renee will travel with their orchestra. So I believe this game takes place somewhere in Europe. It doesn't explain where. Next, they visit a bakery where this dim-witted guy is just being yelled at by his boss for messing up orders, messed up bread, have to throw it out. And he mentions to Renee that he's a fiddler and there's a fiddling contest that he wants her to watch and judge. So you go to the town hall, and for some reason Abraham Lincoln is there. But anyway, it's not a fiddling contest, it's just you have to perform for this very high ranking official. And she said, yeah. Renee says, yes, I'll do it. So they bang out some Mozart. And a nice touch is that the fiddler now becomes a different sprite. Very nice touch. So once finished, everybody is astonished, and the baker forgives the Yosef, and everybody loves Renee. So now Renee is pretty famous and enters the big city, and initially I thought this was in the 1800s, the way the porches look, the way the people are dressed, but there are stoplights and modern cars, so it could be present day for all I know. It could have been the 90s. It doesn't specify which year. Renee receives a tour of the largest concert hall in the city, and oh, what a coincidence, the head conductor has a stomachache? Renee will fill in for them tonight. After performing, news reporters contact her, say you're going to be famous. Next, you visit a famous musician's house, which is so big, it's a huge mansion. They changed the portrait just to emphasize the size of this place. This seems to just be how this game operates. The conductor for this place is injured and you gotta step in. Big surprise. After you impress them, you are so renowned you get to play at your own venue alongside Yosef and Anton, and then that's it, the game's over. There's just 5 stages. Le Concert FF is more structured compared to its counterpart. It follows my boy Bedrick Schneider, an actual prodigy unlike Renee. Bedrick struggles to escape the shadow of his father, who is a world-renowned conductor. His dad believes Bedrick only gets recognition due to their family name. He flat out calls Bedrick's Rookie of the Year participation trophy bullshit. Determined to prove himself, Bedrick pleads with Ernest Menker to mentor him, aiming not to just match his father's skill, but he wants to pass it. Menker agrees to test him by having him conduct a small ensemble performing Mozart, then accepts him as a protege. Following this, Bedrick moves out of his family home and begins touring with Menker. He is starstruck when meeting the legendary Jack Goodman of Vienna. Yes, the legendary Austrian maestro, Jack Goodman. Jack says, show me what you got. Perform with these heretics and retirees. Once impressed by his performance, Jack and Bedrick collaborate. So at this point, Bedrick is becoming more popular, and Bedrick's father refuses to attend any of his concerts. He's got his arms crossed and pouting. However, Bedrick's mother, who has been following his progress, tells his father what he's been up to. She's keeping him in the loop. She's like, oh, he's doing well. He's doing very good, and he's gonna beat your ass. He's gonna pass you pretty soon. At the same time, Menker is getting increasingly concerned about his own health, and he confesses a bunch of regrets to Bedrick for some reason. His trauma dumps, and is counting on him to carry out his legacy. When Bedrick finally arrives in the big city, he is overwhelmed by the grandeur. And then Menker's like, I've had plenty of proteges who just got lost in the city. The translation made it sound like they never came back. And then while sightseeing alone, Bedrick instinctively saves a pedestrian from oncoming traffic, but injures himself in the process. Menker flies off the handle, furious, scolds Bedrick, says you're the chosen one, what are you doing? Stop pulling all this bullshit. A prodigy such as yourself shouldn't be in harm's way at all. I don't know if this was intentional or not, But this is a complete 180 from the circus of La Concert PP, where everybody was just getting injured. But in this game, the main character is getting hurt. So after you complete the song, you play through the pain, a reporter comes up and he's like, whoa, you were hurt and you played? You pulled it off. That's crazy. How about I give you some secrets of Menker's past? Although he's standing right here, he's in the conversation. I'm just gonna tell you some secrets of Menker's past. He has children. He's walked away from this, start doing orchestra and conducting. Can you believe that? Bedrick confronts Menker about this, and they both agree to return home to reconcile with their loved ones. So some time passes, and then Bedrick gets his biggest opportunity yet. He has this huge venue in his hometown, and he tries to make his father watch his performance. And his father is still stubborn. He still refuses to attend. Some poor translation here is Bedrick calls his father a stupid persimmon and then says, why you're such a peach. So Bedrick goes off conducting, and then it comes to reveal that his father did show up, and then the family is there and ends on a happy note. Those are pretty solid stories from what I could tell. What's crazy to me is that if you underperform any of these songs, so I just told you the normal route of these stories, but if you underperform any of these songs, the stage ending vignettes change. And they're equally as long as the normal dialogue, which means half of the game's dialogue is hidden behind something nobody's ever gonna see. I'm not talking about player base. I'm talking about if you fail a song, the song just fails, and it is either go back to the main menu or you retry. Very strange, right? Half the game's dialogue is like that. The art direction is pretty spot on. I mean, a lot of effort clearly went into these sprites. The most baffling thing is that you're never really looking directly at the orchestra. Your focus is always up here, where all the notes are, and you only glance down once in a while whenever you see a blue bar, just to make sure who you have to queue up. But you're not actually looking at the musicians while they're playing their instrument. I mean, just look at the tambourine man. You can't deny this game wasn't made with passion. I mean, maybe that just comes with the classical music genre. And the art outside of the concerts is well done too. But that's an easy claim to make. The game does have a small cast of characters and you go to limited destinations. So that's not all. That's not quite the end of these stories. The thing about 90s games is that they love secrets. They just love putting them in their games. They love putting it in their EGM magazines and into strategy guides. But the thing they love more is true endings. Japan loves true endings. While researching this game on the only site with any real information, I came across a riddle. And when I say riddle, I mean 2 sentences in broken English. There are 5 open stages plus a secret one which will appear only if good results were achieved. After beating stage 5, a very short ending will play. To see the real ending, plus credits, stage 6 must be finished. Okay, so looking back on that was in perfect English. It was just my poor comprehension. So, first of all, what do they mean by good results? I had already gotten the highest possible score for each stage. On easy, granted. Okay, chill out. It's on easy. I was trying to figure out how the controls work. I didn't want the Phantom of the Opera OST playing while trying to figure out this game. It doesn't make for good content. But anyway, I went back and I double checked to make sure there was no S rank. And there is no S rank. And there's no words that start with S in Italian. So after this, I started thinking maybe it was just a myth. Maybe somebody just made this up. Long before AI hallucinations, we had just mistranslated instruction booklets. So, I turned to YouTube. All I could find was footage of people completing this game, and they're going up to stage 5, the same stage I got to. Collectively, this game has under 200 views on YouTube. I don't even know why I went there. There's no guides on game FAQs, just some people trying to claim boards. I even looked at the save screen. And if you look at this, if you measure it, the save screen itself doesn't support 6 stages. None of this was making sense. Now the question was, how far down the completionist rabbit hole was I willing to go? Was I really about to beat this game 2 more times to find out? Not even 2 times, I had to beat 2 games 2 times, or 4 times. I had to think of some shortcuts here. So the first thing I wanted to try was just to play the hardest level, the final level, stage 5, on the hardest difficulty, and to get the highest rank, A rank. So I did that, and then nothing, and to be fair, once you understand the mechanics, the game is pretty easy. And also at some point, either I always had this, but there's a skip dialogue option, you just hit triangle, which kind of makes these games sub 15 minutes. If you skip all dialogue and you just play the songs, this is a sub 15 minute game. It's very surprising. But then, after completing the game on normal with all A ranks, I finally unlocked the elusive Stage 6. Something never recorded. The song is Symphony No. 8 by Dvorak. For Bedrick, the piece is played in memorial for Menker, who recently passed away. For Renee, it's played without any clear narrative, being for her deceased mother's favorite song. This stage is the most difficult one by far, especially at the end, where it requires alternating fast inputs, and the game itself doesn't register it for some reason. It's not a skill issue, I swear. After the concert in both games, the stories intersect, with Renee meeting Bedrick, or vice versa, depending which game you're playing. They're impressed by each other's conducting styles, and agree that the rivalry is meaningless, and they're both equally skilled. Renee is preparing to go to Russia for further schooling in conducting, and there's a subtle hint that she herself may be related to Bedrick. The scene ends with them asking someone to take a photo, followed by the credits rolling, where the family photo is later seen inside of a locket. I mean, for a true ending, that's pretty good. I did not expect it to intersect. I thought it was different timelines. Kinda caught me by surprise. So here at Adjective Gaming, we like to be thorough, to the point where it's almost like a condition. I have some lingering questions. First of all, do you unlock anything for A ranking the rest of the stages? Doing everything on hard mode? So I went back and I did that. And the answer is no. You get nothing new. No new stages, no new dialogue, not even a simple good job. Waste of time. Second, does completing a stage on musician mode give it an alternate ranking? Like, would it give an A next to my other A? And the answer is no, thank God, because it is insanely hard to do. You would think, I said earlier, you just have to, connect the dots where M is X on the controller, but my brain had an aneurysm trying to connect those Latin letters to the buttons. So no, nothing's there. You don't have to play the game on musician mode to unlock anything. Final question is a simple one. What happens if you full clear a song? Full clear meaning all notes perfecto and you hit all the conducting cues. Getting a perfect score is pretty much impossible. I had to cheat and use save states, which was difficult on its own because it throws off your rhythm. Fumbling the keys and the keybinds, trying to save and load at the same time, while doing inputs while listening to the same classical music song on repeat, but in the end I did pull it off, and no, nothing happened. No, there's no S rank. That 100% perfecto. There's no S rank. With all that being said, I think that covers the entirety of the game. So Le Concert. It was a very unique rhythm game. Not many games have conducting as its main focus. It's a solid A tier game.